Hey everyone, Motorola is a champion at producing budget phones with stock Android, and their latest release, the Moto G50, is no different. But it's facing some pretty tough competition from its own siblings. So how does this phone stack up? I'm Angie for GS Marina, and this is our review of the Moto G50 5G. The Moto G50 has a solid build. It's entirely made of plastic, but it feels sturdy and it has water-repellent coating on its internals, so it'll be fine in the rain. The phone comes in aqua green or steel gray coloring like ours here. The glossy paint job collects fingerprints and it's a bit slippery. There's a fingerprint reader on the back that is a bit higher than is comfortable, but it works quickly and reliably. On the front, you'll see some thick bezels and a water droplet notch, in contrast to the punch hole cutouts that we've been seeing a lot of lately. The phone comes with 64GB or 128GB of base storage, and you'll find a hybrid SIM and microSD slot. The 6.5-inch IPS LCD has a 720p resolution. This means the pixel density is pretty low, especially for a phone released in 2021. It has a 90Hz refresh rate though, perhaps to make up for the lack of sharpness, but the slow response time means that you'll see a smearing effect at times, like when you're scrolling quickly through photos. At least the refresh rate control is well done, and with auto mode, the software automatically tones the screen down to 60Hz when you're not touching the display, and then back up to 90Hz when you interact with it again. It's hardly the brightest screen around, with a max of 362 nits, which is rather low for an LCD. This means it'll be difficult to use on a sunny day. The G50 has a single bottom-firing speaker that has good loudness. Quality-wise, it wasn't particularly impressive, and you'll get rather flat sound.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare. I can't escape.
With its huge 5000 mAh battery and a frugal chipset, it was no surprise that the handset got an excellent 133-hour rating on our battery endurance tests. On the flip side, the charging speed wasn't great. Though the phone supports up to 15-watt charging, it ships with a 10-watt charger that got it from 0 to 23% in half an hour, and a painfully slow 2 hours and 35 minutes to get it to 100%. The strength of Motorola devices is their super clean stock Android experience, and the Moto G50 is no different in this aspect. For the most part, you'll be using Android as Google intended, in this case, Android 11. This means you'll get chat bubbles and better notification handling. You will see a couple custom Moto features, but you can find pretty much all of them in the Moto app, which lets you turn them on or off or adjust them. Overall, they're pretty useful and don't interfere with the stockish experience. The G50 has a Snapdragon 480 5G chipset, a budget-friendly 5G chipset. It'll be fine to use for most everyday tasks, especially with the clean software, but it's competing with phones that have much more powerful chipsets in the same price bracket. The Moto G50 has a 48-megapixel main snapper, a 5-megapixel macro cam, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor. There's no ultra-wide camera here, which puts it at a disadvantage compared to its competition. Still, considering this is the budget segment, the ultra-wides you'll see at this price aren't particularly high quality to begin with. During the day, shots are tack sharp with natural colors and good dynamic range. Noise is visible if you zoom in, but it's nothing too bad. You can see over-sharpening of finer details, but it doesn't get in the way, and we like the overall result, even if the colors are not as saturated as on other phones. The Moto G50 has one of the better macro cameras in this class. Colors are vivid, noise is minimal, and photos are sharp. There's no autofocus and no indication to tell you whether a subject is in focus, so sometimes you'll have to reshoot a subject multiple times to get it right, but the results are worth it. In low light, images were soft and some highlights were clipped in more challenging scenes. Still, there's a lot of detail and the HDR does a good job overall. If you switch on night mode, shots look clearer, shadows are brighter, and the photos get some much needed sharpness. You will spot some more noise, but overall shots are brighter and clearer with this mode on, and the processing doesn't take much extra time. Portraits were sharp and had convincing bokeh even with complex backgrounds. Skin tones were less consistent though. Oftentimes we looked more pale or reddish than in reality. With the 13-megapixel sensor, the Moto G50 captures selfies that are far from great. They have good dynamic range and are well exposed, but they are generally soft with low contrast. Skin tones never look quite right. The phone records video up to 1080p at 30 FPS with the main cam. The video is a bit too contrasty, which limits the dynamic range, but at least there's very good sharpness for full HD video. So that's the Moto G50. It's a nice phone, but it's left us wanting more. And this is a recurring theme with these budget 5G phones. Manufacturers are making a lot of compromises to get these phones to these price points and still have them have 5G. We are not fans of these trade-offs. And at this stage, the addition of 5G brings little benefit to end users, and it's meant to bolster carrier portfolios and promote their budding 5G networks rather than meet the practical needs of consumers. And we can hardly recommend this new crop of affordable 5G phones, at least in 2021. 4G-enabled phones like the Poco X3 Pro are able to provide much more value in a segment which is incredibly price-sensitive. And if a 5G phone is a must-have, you'd be better off with last year's Moto G 5G Plus, which offers a better display, a better chipset, and better cameras. And it's already gone down in pricing. So yeah, the Moto G50 has long battery life and good camera performance, but everything else makes this phone pretty hard to recommend, even if you're looking for a Motorola device. Thanks for watching everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.